At Sterling, we believe we are called to help families through difficult transitions. During this difficult time, we are committed to being a beacon of hope for those people that are going through this experience of COVID with us. And we hope to bring you valuable content to share some of the things that people are doing to positively get through this, not just share things that are negative. We're going to be talking a little bit how Sterling is dealing with this transition, how we're set up for success in this uncomfortable and kind of unknowing scenario, because the way we set up our firm is really well equipped to handle this. And we're going to cover some really pertinent family law topics, because in the last week and a half we've been getting a lot of calls to our call center and our team to really understand what to do in some of these difficult scenarios. So we're going to be talking with some of our attorneys to help try to address some of those issues. We're all on this journey together. We want to do this together and be a beacon of hope and kind of run through the tape as we're dealing with this period of uncertainty in our lives. All right, so I'm here on Zoom with our client services team manager, Kelley Shaw. Kelley, can you tell us how you guys are doing on the CSS team as we're now working remotely? It's not as crazy for you because we're kind of set up for working remotely, but you talk to us a little bit about how this has made an impact on your team.
Yeah, so most of my team, on the client solutions team, they actually are already working from their respective homes. I have a couple of team members out of Illinois and a couple of team members from the Fox Valley area. So a lot of our communication happens utilizing Slack and Zoom and direct message, et cetera. But for those the small handful of people that do work in our Menominee Falls office full time in the office, they've had to make the transition to working from home. So that means most of them have had to find some sort of alternative for their children at home, whether that's having an in-house nanny or having family members come over during the workday so that they can answer phones and do what they need to do for their job duties. So overall, I think it's been a pretty easy transition. My team has a lot of flexibility to work from home as they need. So a couple of them, even those that work full-time in the office, have had to do this before. So luckily it hasn't been a huge impact on our performance and being able to continue to service clients as this situation continues.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about how they're dealing with the kids kind of being present while they're working? Has that created any frustrations or hardships for them as they're trying to work through the day and they have kids, or they're trying to also homeschool kids as schools aren't in session right now?
Yeah, so I mean, overall, as a manager, I've just had to continue to keep open lines of communication. I have a couple of team members that, as far as childcare goes, their spouse works like a swing shift. So some days he's working at night and then some days he's working during the day. So when that's happening, I'm just super flexible with her in terms of, can you be logged on? What days of the week can you be logged on? And trying to not have as much of an impact on, people's paychecks as much as possible. So there's a lot of finagling there with spouse schedules. A couple of my team members, they have other family members that live with them. So they're trying to coordinate, just work hours and times with what their other family members have going on so that they can help with the childcare. So overall, it's been a team effort. It's not just the SLO team that's stepping up. It's like all their families too. So, but they've been able to get the coverage that they need and continue to keep our business running. So,
yeah. So you mentioned a couple tools that you guys are utilizing to keep connected. One was Slack and the other one was Zoom. Can you talk a little bit about how those have been able to, they've been utilized in the past, but how they're really critical to helping us stay connected and stay like on the same page in the current situation?
Well, Slack, we just use a lot we use Slack a lot in general, not just as a result of the coronavirus situation, but being able to call team members when they are having a question about whether it's a systems question, they're getting an error on their screen, or they need me to walk them through a process, they don't know how to trigger things, you know, the ability to make a Slack call and share and be able to see what that team member is seeing on their screen and walk them through whatever it is they need has just been really invaluable during this process. I have a couple of newer team members on CSS. I've only been here for 2 or 3 months. So sending out agreements and how to use DocuSign, how to troubleshoot phone issues, that all of that, those are all things that we are utilizing Slack to help manage and move through.
Yeah. So so for people that are watching that may be confused and say, how does someone that's working at a law firm answering the phones, how are they able to continue being open and not really have a hiccup? Can you talk a little bit about how, your team is set up so that, people might understand that, on was it March 16th, last Monday, when the notice was given that we were going to have to start social distancing, we were able to basically that morning get everyone at home and not really have a hiccup in our operation.
Yeah, well, it all starts with the way that the firm is set up from a systems perspective. So we operate using Salesforce. So it's all cloud-based. So there's no internal, what do you call that, like an intranet. There's nothing that we have to have access to from a hardware perspective. Like everybody has a laptop. We're able to just go to the Salesforce login page and you have access to everything you need to do your job. Our phone system, we all use soft phones. We use the program called Call Tracking Metrics. So that's, that your phone is on your screen as well. So you're looking at your phone here, you're looking at your Salesforce screen here, you've got Slack on your second monitor. Everything is set up for you. I mean, whenever somebody starts on my team, they're given their laptop and everything's loaded on there. So your Gmail's on there, your Salesforce is on there, your Slack's on there, you are subscribed to all the channels that you need. It's a pretty seamless transition, really, when you have to work from home. Probably the biggest pain is having these little MacBook Airs. The screen's not as big as you would like. So I know a couple of my team members, they asked to bring some monitors home from the office during this transition, which of course is not a problem at all. So that certainly helps keep people productive. So, when they can actually see the 5,000 different tabs that they have to have open on their computer.
Yeah. So it seems like your team is really ready to handle this situation, and we're open for business as usual. And can you talk a little bit about how our attorneys are utilizing technology to stay connected with clients and to stay focused on serving them and meeting their needs? As we're they're not only in a situation like everybody else as it relates to what's going on with COVID, but also dealing with the transition that they're in with their families. And so can you talk a little bit about how our attorneys are able to stay connected with them and in the same way that the CSS team is able to?
Yeah, so overall, we've tried to make this whole situation as uninterrupted, tried to mitigate the interruption in service as much as possible. Our attorneys are utilizing all of the same tools that CSS is utilizing. So they all have access to Salesforce. All of their case files are loaded into Salesforce. We have a pretty amazing setup there from a systems perspective. So they're able to generate their documents and they're able to house documents and edit them and send them out all through Salesforce. They've also been utilizing Zoom to continue to meet with potential new clients. So I spent all morning this morning just reaching out to people that were scheduled on attorney calendars, just to at least give them the option to do like a web conference like we're doing here with Zoom, or they prefer to just do a normal phone call, that's fine too. The point is to set everybody up to be as safe and as healthy as possible. And these technology options are really the best way to do that. So Yeah, in terms of what the attorneys are doing, most of our attorneys do have children. I know that a lot of their husbands and their spouses, they have been, playing a little bit of the balancing act as well, with homeschooling and with just having younger children at home. So it seems to be, we really haven't had much of an issue there. Our attorneys have, they love their jobs, and they're going to keep doing what they need to do to continue working with their clients. So, really the biggest interruption has just been from a technology standpoint and getting clients and potential clients as familiar with using these types of tools as everyone at our firm is. Not everybody's as comfortable doing a video chat as they would like to be. So it can be a little bit complicated for some people, but we're getting through it.
Awesome. How are you doing, Kelley, with this whole transition? How's it been from a management perspective?
It's been good. It's just a lot of moving parts all the time. And since this whole situation is largely still developing, just trying to forecast what other things we're going to need to move around and find workarounds for. But, I've got a good group of other managers. So Steve is the marketing director. Him and I been working for a couple days now on how to come up with a web conferencing solution for our workshops. Finally got that nailed down today. So all of our workshops are continuing to happen, which is amazing. So people don't have to drive and, expose themselves to come and get the information about the divorce process that they're needing to gather. So just from a management perspective, it hasn't been too difficult. It's just trying to stay out ahead of things so that you're not underwater by the time when everything has to be moved all at once. So
Yeah. So Kelley, can you talk a little bit about security with people working at home? Because obviously we're providing a legal service for families that are going through transition, and one of the things that there might be a concern about is security of information. So can you talk a little bit about that and kind of how our systems work and how we have a very secure system overall?
yeah, so we are a very digital firm. All of the vendors and the programs that we use are well-known, highly rated. Salesforce, Gmail, they all require two-step authentication. So anyone on my team, any of the attorneys or our paralegals have to be able to they have to enter their password, and they also have to input the code that gets sent directly to their cell phone, their own personal cell phone. So between that and then, my team does a lot of collecting of payment information. So we have a really good development team that's put together some programs where my team is able to input payment information directly into Salesforce, and then no one else has access to it ever again. So it's all encrypted. You're never able to go in, like, re-edit or re-look at someone's credit card information once it's entered. All of our information that we do gather on the forefront of our conversations is all entered straight into Salesforce, which of course is protected with, again, a two-step authentication. So no worries there about, having access to intimate details about your particular family law case. All of those things are well protected.
Could you also talk a little bit about, so most law firms are traditionally filled with paper, and they have these large storage facilities that are filled with banker boxes full of old files. Can you talk a little bit about how we handle that and what the security looks like on that front?
Yeah. So anyone who has set up a consult with us is going to be aware of the fact that we send out that intake form upon scheduling of that consultation. And I bring that up just because it's a really good example of the thought that we've put into securing people's information. So anytime that you fill out one of those forms, it's an encrypted, specialized code for each one of our clients. So the ability to go and hack something like that is just not out there because the code is different every single time for every single client. So for someone to take the time to go through that to gather any information really is highly unlikely. And it is all, again, hosted through Salesforce as well. So that's one example. More broadly, to the question about having stacks of paperwork everywhere, we have the way that our filing and our mailing system works is everything is converted to an electronic version and stored in our cloud secured database as soon as it hits our office. So we have a couple of individuals at each location, Appleton, Madison, Illinois, and then also Menominee Falls, that one of their primary responsibilities is making sure that any sensitive information about clients or about payment that comes through the mail gets entered immediately into our Salesforce system. So, and after that, a lot of those correspondence, unless it's official court correspondence, is getting shredded or destroyed with our, what does it call it? The confidential shred bin that all of our offices have access to. So there's a big push to have everything in our database there. And then the final thing that I would speak to with regarding having digital files is that we've put a lot of time and development into our own document creation. So you don't have the issue that other firms might have where they have a lot of different drafts on an old computer or in an old, like their own email inbox, because a lot of the document creation that they're doing is right in Salesforce on your opportunity with your information that you've input into your case file from that intake form that I talked about earlier. So it's all being held in the same spot with all of the same security measures across the board.
I appreciate you sharing a little bit of insight on kind of what's going on with your team and telling us about how we're really set up to be able to handle this situation and continue serving clients at a really high level.
Thanks again for watching. We really appreciate your time, and we hope you guys are getting something useful and informative out of these features that we're putting together. We really believe right now is the time for all of us to serve each other. We believe here at Sterling that we're called to serve families that are going through a period of transition, and we have to pick up the shield and the sword of what's the best interest of others. We all need to do that in this period. We need to look to our neighbors, look to people that are in need, and really understand what they need. If you have an elderly neighbor, make sure you get in touch with them, call them. If you have someone in your network of individuals that may need help getting food, make sure you're reaching out to them. Give a friend a call. Everybody that is in our society is being asked to isolate. We can remove some of that feeling of isolation by connecting with one another. Families that are in this together, don't spend every waking moment looking at the news and just getting involved with everything that's so dire. Spend time playing board games, spend time enjoying each other's presence. Because we will get through this together. This too shall pass, and we will come out stronger and better than we were before. We look forward to continuing to bring you content. We hope you get value out of this as we journey through this period of transition together.